We've been seeing massive layoffs from some of these major companies, and the job market is definitely moving in favor of companies. These people are between jobs for a longer period of time. Jobs that used to be safe, say like in the software industry, people are afraid of being replaced by AI. This is spreading out into other industries beyond that too, like the legal industry, for example. It's Amanda here with Propel Financial Advisors. I'm joined by my colleague, Emily Augusto. So we have four main points we'd like to go through today. First off, we want to start with the basics, your expenses.
Yes. So we don't like to talk about it, but AI is definitely in the news a lot with scare tactics and all these kinds of headlines saying that it's going to take your job. And it's scary, but like it is, we are starting to see a little bit of that in certain industries. So, yeah, if you are in the unfortunate position where you're laid off for any reason, first things you're probably going to start thinking about is your budget and your immediate costs, your immediate needs for cash. If you can cut all the extras, I get my Newly service every month, but that would probably be something I would have to cut right away. So things like that are easy and not going to stress you too much. Take care of those basics to make sure you can pay your rent or your mortgage, all that good stuff. And also, if you are married, evaluate your partner's income. Maybe their insurance is something that you can both be on if you had insurance at your job, because COBRA can be really expensive. So I would think those would be at the top of mind. And that's how we would start looking at your entire situation. But besides, and this is if you have severance too, if you don't have severance or once severance runs out, then you can take a look at unemployment. So, Amanda, how does that all work?
Yeah, so it depends on the state you're in. Different unemployment services run differently. I know in New York, where I am, you pretty much go online and file a claim, and that's how it starts. I can speak from experience here. I was laid off almost 20 years ago, I guess it's been now, in the great financial crisis. And I would say, even though I did have severance then, you could still apply for unemployment. You just might not get the payment until the severance runs out. Also, it's good to apply for unemployment sooner rather than later. Personally, I've had an administrative issue where I learned that my employer had been filing my pay under the wrong social security number. So the unemployment office didn't immediately clear my claim. It took a while to correct that and get the proper paperwork in place. You don't want to be in that position where you're getting squeezed just because you didn't apply for it as soon as you could. Emily, you were going to discuss how the unemployment is taxed.
So, severance and unemployment are both considered income to you and are taxed at your regular income rate. For severance, you would need to talk to your employer. They may pay you the same as you were being paid previously and automatically taking out your federal and state withholding. But for unemployment, that's usually something that you have to opt into. So if you are faced with the option when you're applying for unemployment to say, do you want to have taxes withheld? I would highly encourage you to do that so that there's no surprises the next year when you're doing your taxes. You may find yourself owing a lot on this unemployment income if you don't do the proper withholding. And I just want to take a quick minute. If you like what you're hearing so far, please give us a follow on YouTube, on your podcast app, leave us a comment on our videos. Let's move on to the point when maybe your severance is running out or your unemployment, for whatever reason, is not covering enough of your bills. Where would we look for cash? Like, how should we pull from our savings? Amanda, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so first, hopefully, you have your emergency savings account in order. So that's a great place to start for most people. That's our typical recommendation, as to have 3 to 6 months of expenses on hand so that you can be sure to cover your rent payment, your mortgage payment, your electricity bill, your basic bills you need. If you get to the point where that is low, I'm going to caution people against running up a credit card debt. That can really take a long time to dig yourself out of. Sometimes people are squeezed and it's necessary, but it's always good to evaluate whatever different sources of cash you have. You could have 401k, you could have some investments in a brokerage account, you could have money saved in different places, or your spouse could. Trying to decide which would pull from those. Should you take a loan out of your 401k or your spouse's 401k? Should you cash out an investment you had and then pay the capital gains tax on that? These are questions that can get complicated, and this is a great place where a financial advisor can step in and help you evaluate the best place to draw your funds from.
So if you're in that position, you can reach out to schedule a consultation with us at propelfinancialadvisors.com. You can also sign up for our newsletter there. So the last item we want to speak about is your retirement savings at the job that you were laid off from. So first, you're obviously going to think about your basics, your insurance, your immediate income and expense cash needs. But don't forget about your retirement savings. A lot of people forget about a 401k or an old Roth you had at an old job, but don't lose track of that. It may not be at the top of mind when you're first dealing with a layoff. We have a podcast that goes over what to do when you leave a job, what to do with your 401k. So definitely take a look at that. We'll place a link in our show notes to that podcast.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that there's different options. You have an option to roll over your 401k to an IRA. You have an option to roll over a 401k to a new job. Now, which one is better for your situation depends on your situation. And that's also another place where a financial advisor can step in and help guide you on what could be right for your situation. Also, once you start at a new job, you want to make sure you don't get behind on your retirement savings. So if you had several months of unemployment where you weren't contributing to a retirement fund, and say you're worried about getting your emergency savings back in order and trying to prioritize what to do, can be helpful to have a third party step in and guide you.
We know it's a difficult situation when you deal with any kind of job loss. We're here to help you navigate that financial time. All right. I think that covers it. I hope that is helpful. If you have any questions, you can email us at info@connectingthedollars.com. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and our website, propelfinancialadvisors.com. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next time.